And let me borrow your key. You can have a seat. It's going to be a while. So we have a 1999 Prelude California model with about just past 100,000 miles, 113,000 miles. The owner bought this car from someone's kind of modified the car, but everything's put back together, and the main complaint is when the car runs at an idle for 30 minutes, the engine will bog down and die. If the car is actually driven and heated up faster, in about 10 minutes, it will bog down and die. And when I say bog down and die, the owner is saying he can smell a lot of richness in the fuel. So someone's made a statement that it's been flooded. I guess to really say that, you would probably run it until it dies, open up the spark plugs and see if there's any fuel there, and that's like, it's really with a lot of fuel. But anyways, so the idea is something is bogging this thing down once it gets heated up. And so some of the things that we're thinking of it is a bad distributor, the coil, the igniter inside, the fuel injectors, mass airflow sensor, things like that. And the box also shows a coolant temperature sensor that's been replaced. So to verify the coolant temperature sensor, we're gonna use our scanner to see what the temperature of the car is when we start it up. The owner also recently mentioned that the check engine light's on, so that could be helpful for us to figure out what the computer is not happy with. So here we go. Today is 7/10/22, and we have a green light that just came on, meaning that this key does have the chip inside, the immobilizer. So if we were to swap a computer, we may have to do a learn on the key using a bidirectional scanner. So we're dealing with a stick shift, and we're hearing some free. So once I turn on the key and the green immobilizer light turned off, that means this key is registered. So that means it's a real known good key, and hopefully we'll just start. I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit of gas. Okay, I add a little bit of gas. It sounds like it kind of wants to start. I'm gonna do this again. I'm adding gas now. Now I'm adding a lot of gas. I'm gonna hold this idle. And we'll see what the coolant temperature sensor says, but this is beyond the coolant temperature sensor, because I don't think the coolant temperature sensor can do this, where it just wants to. You smell gas?
Yeah.
Yeah, so immediately you can smell a lot of richness. We're activating this, and we're going to go check on the check engine light code. Were you able to start up this morning?
Yeah, and it ran. I was, idle for until I shut it off. But it was rough like that at the start.
Well, you have to add the gas.
I just added a little bit. I didn't go too much.
Okay. All right.
And then
So
it ran.
code found 1. Monitors that are not applicable monitors are 2. Monitors okay are 4. Monitors incomplete are 4. So 4 monitors are not ready. So we're gonna hit okay. System status. System status just tells us about all those monitors. So let's go out to read code, store code. System too rich, bank 1. Okay. So I guess this car is definitely running rich. And how does the computer know that? I guess it knows that from the O2 sensor feeding it back information that it's too rich. And if an O2 sensor can tell if a car is rich, then the voltage would be closer to 1 volt for a longer amount of time. And then hence the computer can make a statement like that. And so there's only one code right now, and it's P0172. Going back, any pending codes that's about to happen that we don't know about. Okay, so there is a code that will come up in the future. It's called P0170, Fuel Trim Bank 1. So fuel trim means the ability of the computer to either add gas or take away gas to allow the car to run nicely. And it's telling me there is a code for it, so I don't know if the code is for taking away too much gas or adding too much gas and going towards its limits. But it's definitely related to gas, so that's helpful. Going back. So let's go to live data number 4. And by the way, we're using a Maxi TPMS TS601. Let's go to live data and let's go look at our coolant temperature sensor. Complete list. So we have a ECT at around 113 Fahrenheit. And ECT stands for Engine Coolant Temperature Sensor. And the question is, should it be 113 Fahrenheit when I just started it? You said you started at around 8 in the morning, or how early?
Yeah, it was about maybe 9 o'clock.
What time is it now? It's like 5-ish?
Yeah.
So how many... And you ran it for like...
I only ran it for maybe for like 15 minutes.
15 minutes at 9 o'clock. And so let's just call it 9 o'clock. So 10, 11, 12, 1,
Well, I'll tell you exactly,
2...
because I went and put some gas in, so it was 10 o'clock when I got gas.
Oh, so 10 o'clock. So it's been 11, 12, 1, 2, 3...
It's been at least
6 hours, 7 hours?
7 hours, yeah.
Okay, it's been 6 hours since this car's been parked. And
no, I didn't drive it. I just got gas on the can and...
Oh.
So this thing only idled this morning for about, like I said, 15, 20 minutes.
15, 20 minutes, and my coolant temperature sensor is reading 113 Fahrenheit. But we just did kind of start it up right now. Dang. I should have went to this thing when it was cold. But don't worry, since this is my neighbor's car, I can always come back when it's cold. So let's go ahead and start the car up and see, will this temperature sensor climb higher and higher. I think water boils at 200 something? 215 or 212? The ambient temperature right now is probably like 80 degrees.
212. Water boil
212.
temperature.
And what's the temperature in Castro Valley right now? Like 87, 88?
89.
89, so call it 90. 90 minus 113 is how many degrees?
90 minus 113?
Or 113 minus...
23?
Yeah, that's possible. I guess with that little heat that I started, it could just increase 23 degrees since it is a car and it gets hot really fast. So that maybe is really believable. Let's see if we can get started up again. Actually, let's look at a few more parameters when we start. Short-term fuel trim is a 0. That means the computer is not adding any more fuel. Oh, long-term fuel trim is negative 18. So this car's computer, I'm just going to give you an imaginary number, like 30 steps positive and 30 steps negative. So if I tell you this car's computer fuel trim is positive 30, means that with all of its power that the computer control, it can control 30 steps of how much gas to inject. Mm-hmm. It's putting all 30 more into the car to make it run right. But your number is negative 18. So we'll do the opposite. Let's say the car's computer has the ability to remove the gas, and the maximum it can do is negative 30. Mm-hmm. Well, it's already doing 18 to stop gas from getting into the car. So that gives us information that hence it's supporting your mechanic statements and our noses that the car is running rich, because the computer is trying to decrease the amount of fuel that it's dumping in.
Yeah.
Map sensor is 14.5. I don't remember map sensor specifications, but I can look that up. Idle air temperature is 111, so that's okay. So no, this is not idle. Yeah, intake air temperature sensor. So a modern day's computer, it wants to know what's the temperature of the air coming in, because a colder air you can compact more, a hotter air is more expanded. So it's saying the outside air temperature that's coming in is 110 Fahrenheit, which is
that's kind of hot, right?
Yeah, because we're like 90 something.
Yeah.
But it's relatively close to the engine coolant temperature sensor, reading at 113 earlier. The other thing is, these things kind of share some ground paths, but it's kind of really close. So it might be in the realm of under possibility. But like you said, in the human world, or maybe with the hood closed and everything, that temperature is much hotter in here than out there, because we get breeze. So it's possible. O2. O2 sensor, bake 1, sensor 2. O2 sensor, bake 1, sensor 1. So sensor 1 is the O2 sensor before the cat. It's reading 1.275 volts. And the one that's after the cat, O2 bank 1 sensor 2, is also reading the same, 1.275 behind the cat. And then we have short-term fuel trim. Fuel system's open loop, of course, because it's not warmed up. Okay, so these are all of our parameters. Let's go ahead and keep our eye on the engine coolant sensor, which is reading 113. So let's hopefully we can get started again. And hopefully
so maybe try without giving any more gas.
Okay.
Yeah, it started this morning.
Oh man, this is a good time to check out the sparks to see if any spark is coming out. Let me see if this is an easy thing to put a screwdriver to see if there's any sparks. Looks like it's kind of easy.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Now you're adding gas?
But now it wants to die.
It's spreading so rich. Huh?
What did you do?
pulled out the spark plug wires, and then it's not running right. I pulled this thing out, and you can see the spark. You can see the sparks actually jumping.
Yeah, because earlier I had to keep pumping it or it would die. But as soon as you did that, now it's running on its own.
Okay.
If this is normal. But this morning I was just idling like this. But if you let it idle for, like I said, over 30 minutes, and then it will start getting rough like that, where you want to die, and it starts moving.
Okay, let's continue on looking at the numbers. Let me sit back. All right, so our coolant temperature sensor reached 145, 147. So we said 212 is boiling point.
Yeah.
But because there's a radiator cap, it's under pressure, the boiling point actually went lower a little bit, so you might pass 212. So let's go to the idle air temperature sensor, and the idle air temperature sensor shouldn't be that much hotter than 110 we saw earlier or something. I just took a nap so I can actually remember things. The kid just went home.
Yeah, that was weird. Like, why? I don't understand why it was running so rough. Because normally it starts right up, and it will stay on by itself like this.
Oh yeah, it's running much better. So the idle intake air temperature is 111, so it didn't increase, so that's good. Spark advance is at 27 degrees, and as I press more, it's going. The spark advance is increasing, so it knows how to advance itself. The map sensor is reading 4.4 at idle PSI. RPM is still very high. It should go down probably like 750. So the computer's still starting to rich it up because it's a cold engine. But we're basically at 1,237. Long field trim is still at -18. So the computer, well, this is long term. Let's check what the short term is. Oh, short term is still negative. Oh, short term is -11. That's better. Oh, 20, 11, 15. So we want it closer to 0, meaning that the computer isn't trying to remove gas.
And it should, right?
Yeah, right now it's like jumping between 18 and 8, -21. Whatever it is. Well, the other thing is the car's still warming up, so it's hard to say. Because the computer is trying to rich this car up because it's
Where's the sunroof?
That's the coolest sunroof ever. Oh, he had it like a fog light switch or something. That looks like an OEM. All right, so our short term is still negative something. We want it closer to 0. And they're reaching 190 now for the temperature. The car's like much more responsive. Somehow the computer was like stuck on some kind of loop earlier before I pulled out the distributor wires. I don't know what load PCT stands for. Oh, now the system changed to closed loop. Closed loop means that the computer now is going to listen to the O2 sensors, and when they fluctuate up and down, then the computer responds to it by doing the opposite in terms of injecting fuel. So it's like after a certain amount of time and everything's in order, then the computer starts listening to the O2 sensor to fine-tune the gas. In the beginning, like the first 3 minutes when it's cold and everything, it just has a predetermined amount of commands to just make this car warm up.
Got it.
So we are in closed loop. That's a good sign. Short term bank 1 sensor 2. Almost like an O2 sensor. OB oxygen sensor bank 1 sensor 2. So this is behind the cat. Behind the cat, it's reading like 0.1, 0.8. So what this number is you see it's 0.8 sometimes and 0.1 sometimes. And so basically the midpoint is 0.5. If it goes above 0.5, closer to 1, and then it comes back down to below 0.5 below, which it's doing, that's good, then it's fluctuating. I can explain that later, but like that's a good sign where it's going to 0.8 above 0.5, and it goes to 0.1, and it goes back to 0.7, and then go back to 0.2. So it's jumping back and forth, and that's good.
Okay.
So here's the O2 sensor, bank 1 sensor 1. This is before the cat. And it's also kind of fluctuating 0.7, 0.7, 0.9, 0.1. So it's going.
The idle it should be down by now. Huh?
Oh yeah, it's still like 1,400 or something right now. So this is a wave pattern of a graph of the O2 sensor. You see this midpoint line right here? That's 0.5. So there's your 0.1 and that's your 0.9. And the waveform is going up and down, which is good. So if it's always like all the way low and all the way high, then we know that the O2 sensor could be bad, or the computer is injecting something really awful. But this is a really good pattern there. So we'll go back out, and then let's go to live data again. Okay, so our coolant temperature is reaching 207, and my hunch is it's not going to pass 212 by too much. So the coolant temperature sensor is reading around 203, and the actual temperature of the car is somewhere in the middle. So both things are doing great in terms of temperature. So whatever the problem is, this car doesn't have a engine coolant temperature sensor problem. Even though it may be two different sensors and something's been changed, but it's looking like it's working in order. Our short-term fuel trim is still a bother because we're still trying to reduce a whole bunch of fuel.
And it's still giving too much gas, right?
Yeah, we still haven't dropped down yet. And this video is like 23 minutes already. Usually in 5 minutes we should be dropping down in idle. So let me see if I can. Oh, it's dropping, it's dropping, it's dropping. It's dropping, that's good. What's our RPM here supposed to say? What is the digitally the computer saying for RPM? Because we're like 1,100 now through the analog gauge. Yeah, 1,100, 1,060. So let's just look at the outside to see if there's a specification for idle. They don't give you a specification for idle. On the new cars, they don't give it. On the older cars, yeah. All right. But our temperature set, whether our speed is dropping down, This car have AC and heat?
Yeah.
It works?
Yeah.
All right, let's see if it... Oh, okay. Car got weaker. Means there's a strain. And do I feel... And the strain of the motor is about to kill the engine. You feel heat?
I feel the AC.
Okay, that's good. Let's shut down AC. Car idles better. Sometimes when the idle air control is dirty, that throttle body there is dirty. Mm-hmm. When you go to idle, when you turn on the AC, it's trying to suck power off the motor, and there's a secret passageway that's supposed to allow more air into the motor. And sometimes when that passageway is dirty, even though the computer is pulling out this pin to let more secret air to come in, it's because it's clogged, no more air can come in. So it like wants to kill the car. So this is to see if we do have heat and everything else is good on that. Heat's Hondas have really crazy heat. All right. So we're idling kind of high again. Let me press some gas here to see if we can go back to its normal.
So there's something dirty inside that's killing the car when the AC is on.
Let me see if I can make that statement again.
Yeah, you feel it.
Let's actually test to see if it actually can kill the car. Enough to die. Not enough, but it really wants to get close to dying. It's like 720 RPM. There's also a wire that's supposed to run to the computer. When I activate the AC, that wire goes to the computer, and then the computer goes, oh, you're asking for AC? Let me increase the RPM by injecting more gas. My other scanner might have that capability to see that the AC system is running. I don't see anything telling me AC on and off. So I don't know if the computer actually sees the AC being asked. But let's look at, can you grab me that throttle body over here from the box? That big old circle thing? Yeah. So what can I say? So hold the camera for me. So every time you press the gas, you're turning this cable and this throttle plate's opening, right? And I'm gonna say that the cold air that's coming this way, and that cold air will go into the motor this way. And so when you press into the cable, air can go through. So this is called full throttle when you go all the way. So a ton of air can go into the computer. But when I'm at idle, at a stop sign, I let go of the foot, and this is the situation. That plate is now completely closed. So the question is, well, how does the air get past here, from here, to get into the motor? So there's a secret passage they can go through. And where is that item? Oh, this is a map sensor, so that's not that. Maybe, any secret passages here? Well, we see two secret passages, one here, one here. and those chambers end up here. So maybe, and theoretically speaking, like air can probably go through this passage and come out of here, and might be blocked by some motor, and that air cannot go through if that motor is all the way in, and when the computer activates it, it moves that motor the other way, and there's room for the air to travel out. So that's called the idle air control system. And I thought I could explain it from here, but maybe there's more parts to it that you can mechanically see it better. But ultimately, having this thing available tells you, or it shows you visually, that when you close like this, air can't go through. So when you're at a stop sign and you're asking for AC, theoretically, the car motor is getting weak and it needs more air. Well, if you can open your foot like this, every time you turn AC, then there's more air. But a human being is not going to do that all the time. So there's going to be a secret passageway for air to go through, and the computer's going to control it. And these secret passages, I don't know exactly where it is, but I'm assuming like this could be it. Over the years of just driving day to day and all the gum that goes through, some of the passages get clogged up. And so even though the computer is opening all the way to get air through the secret passageway, because it's fouled up and gummed up, air doesn't make it through. So you still need to clean that passageway.
But if they change this part, because this has got to be an old part, so then I should have a new part. It shouldn't get clogged up, right?
Yeah. Or I gotta look some videos on how the system works. Or is there something else you can still clean? But there's a high possibility that once this is clean, open, I'm assuming that they clean those other passages nearby on the other end to get that air to go. But also right now, the car's idling really high. We're adding AC. Oh, we're adding AC. There you go. That was on. And the car almost kills it. Nope. And it's enough to kill it too. See, we'll start right back up. Maybe I should have did that. We'll have you start again. I'll do the same distributor thing and see if it works.
Okay.
Because we wanted to get to the point where it gets hot and dies by itself.
Okay.
We can put this back.
We actually might be there now because it has the symptom too. Where, you know, where if you, because the car's got to be warm now, and then it would not start. So let's see.
Oh, but will it die on its own?
It does that too. Yeah.
Oh, it can die on its own, or when you shut it down and turn it back on, it won't.
It usually dies on its own, then I can't start it back up.
Oh, so it's doing that. Okay. So here, you start it and see if I can mess with that distributor thing and see if it'll go back to its normal routine. All right, I'm gonna use number 4. It'll die now. And this is the exact symptom where it's warmed up, it'll die.
It's a little different. It's, when it's totally flooded, you can't even start it. It'll just crank all day. So these are how I can still start it.
Oh. So go ahead and let it die.
Let it die?
Yeah. Oh, now it's idling less than 1,000?
Yeah.
Which is different from before. You can sit there. What's my coolant temperature sensor now? 205. I think what was the highest that I ever reached today? Around 207. All right, so we're dropping down. We're dropping down to 1,000 or a little bit less. We're at 988. And then every time you hit the gas, you hear a clunk, click, click sound, right?
Now it's not. It was like at the beginning, but now it's not. And now the car actually, this is rising again. So now the car is actually idling on its own. But earlier when I just started, it wanted to die, so I kept pumping the gas.
Oh.
But now it's not making that. But it's not
kind of doing normal.
But it's not. But you could tell it's like you hit the gas, it kind of rumbles a little bit, and then it goes. It doesn't respond like a normal car. You know?
Oh, right now?
Yeah.
There's a little hesitation.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You feel the hesitation? You feel the car rumbling a little bit?
Yeah. It's not as responsive as.
Right. I mean, if I go soft on it, then it does, right? It doesn't rumble, but if I just pump it, it feels like it's like want to almost die, and then it starts back up.
Yeah, I saw that.
But there's no telling, so you could just let it sit here and idle until it dies, or but normally what it does is when I'm driving, and I come to a stop sign or a red light, when I bring the car to the stop, if I don't keep pumping the gas, the engine will die. And even sometimes when I pump the gas, it will still die. And then once that happens, it won't go start until you let the car sit and it cools back down, like probably over an hour, 45 minutes an hour.
Okay.
And then once everything is cool, then you can start back up again.
And however, we're not reaching that other problem where we reach 10, 30 minutes of sitting here, it will die by itself. Today,
we haven't reached it yet, but maybe, maybe. I never really did time it, so I can't say for sure 30, but because last time I let it idle for a long time, and the engine died on its own.
Okay. All right, I think we have enough information collected today to come back with something on the next round. So let's check out the mass airflow sensor, see how quickly that can be changed. So this is the air filter. It's going through the air into here, and then it gets into here, then it goes into there.
Oh, that's the throttle body that you showed me, right? So
Yeah.
They changed that piece.
Yeah. Some whirling noise, like a bearing noise. I don't really know where the mass airflow. So cars have two systems. One's called mass airflow system. The other one's called. It's not coolant. Yeah. You know what coolant smells like? You do? It smells kind of sweet.
Yeah. I just smell it. It kind of went away, but.
Wow. My neighbor really knows cars. Okay, so one system is called mass airflow system, and the other is called mass airflow system. I think mass airflow sensor has like a screen, I think the mass one is like a toaster element running across, like when you toast your bread, and then air runs across it, and as the air runs across it, it cools the element down. And so the computer knows how much electricity is sent in, and on the other end, how much electricity comes out. Based on how much air is cooling down the wire, it can inadvertently tell you how much the temperature of the air is coming in. I think that's math. Math is like maybe the Oldsmobile where there's actually a vein, and as the car drives, or as the wind comes in faster, it pushes like a secret door. And as the wind goes down, the flap opens more. I think that's math. So Maybe the master flow sensor in this car is more like that sensor, that thin piece of metal that runs it down, and then they sell you a tool to squirt and clean it if that sensor is bad. So I don't really know where that sensor is in this car. But, okay, so that's that. Oh, here's the distributor. This is the, nope. This is the distributor that was changed. It does look like an aftermarket one. It says TD772793416. Doesn't say Honda on it. So usually Honda stuff has this logo here, like really nice embossed stuff. Usually. So we also got this thing changed. Like the dealer stuff always has like weird things, like these little weird Japanese markings and stuff on it, like the original stuff. The aftermarket stuff just looks very plain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like this is the dealer stuff, this TEK stuff. This might be the idle air control thing I was talking about, where air, I don't know if this is water or like air goes in one way and comes out the other way, and this is a secret passageway, but I don't see any computers controlling this thing, so this might not be it. Maybe it goes, looks like it goes to the side. All right, we'll just end this video here, but here's all the goodies that we're dealing with.